from the 23rd on concurrence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's Milwaukee Journal Sentinel does a really good job of summarizing what this bill really does. Permission to read from a printed document?
Without objection.
The headline says, this bill would triple the number of reading tests for young students. It wasn't that long ago that parents were lining up to take their kids out of standardized testing. This was all pre-pandemic, and it was a while ago. We have bigger things to worry about right now. But we all know the saying that if it's not broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, we all know that something is broken in our public schools. Not enough kids are learning to read. But what this bill says is, if you know it's broke, don't fix it. Test it again and again and again to make sure you know it's broke. And how does that actually fix our problem? Before I ran for state assembly, I was a substitute elementary school teacher at my local public school. One of the jobs that I did most often in the beginning of the school year was subbing in the classroom while the teacher did individual reading tests with each kid to benchmark them at the beginning of the year. With 25 to 28 students in each classroom, this one test would take a few days. And I would rotate from class to class to help the teachers do the benchmarking. Now, this bill will triple the amount of testing. So this is actually taking away the time that your kid's regular classroom teacher has in your classroom, face-to-face with your child. And this is actually the best case scenario. When I was doing my student teaching at a public school in Milwaukee South Side, we didn't have the luxury of a substitute teacher during student testing. Each classroom teacher was expected to individually test 28 third graders while simultaneously managing all the other students in the classroom. This process took weeks because we ended up having to pull students out of lunch, out of music, out of gym, before school, after school, simply to get the individual time that you need to do a quality benchmark test on every individual student. Now, the goal of this bill is a good one. Identifying and diagnosing students before third grade with reading challenges such as dyslexia is critical to ensure that they get the help they need by third grade. But what good is data if you're not actually able to use it? An experienced second grade teacher spoke to me about this proposal. She told me she has stacks and piles of testing data on all of her students. What she needs is the time to review the data and do a thorough diagnosis and the assistance to execute and analyze the individual plans for each of those 28 students. What our students need most are more reading specialists who can implement targeted learning plans or who have experience with dyslexia and visual processing disorders. We need more classroom aides who can help teachers in the classroom either work one-on-one with students or manage the rest of the kids to keep the learning going for the other 27 students. But this bill has none of that. This bill triples the amount of testing and gives classroom teachers nothing but an unfunded mandate. Now, some of my colleagues have argued that they believe that some of the ARPA funds going to schools can cover this proposal. But like my colleague said earlier, those funds are not sustainable, and they're not distributed evenly to every school. Meanwhile, this mandate does apply equally to every single school. Now, I know many of you will vote for this bill and pat yourselves on the back thinking you have helped students read. But your unwillingness to provide every school the resources to execute these plans shows either a complete lack of understanding of the workings of real-world, day-to-day classrooms or an attempt to score some political points at the expense of actually investing in and improving our kids' reading scores. What we're facing is not an achievement gap. What we're facing is an opportunity gap. I wish that every single classroom in this state had the resources to bring in extra substitute teachers and specialists and sit down with every single child so that they can get the help they need at an early age and pave the way for success. But that's not what this bill does. Our state is sitting on the biggest budget surplus in recent history, so it's not a matter of can we do this? We can and we must. When you know something is broken, something as important as making sure every child can read by the end of third grade. What good are a stack of test scores saying, yep, something is broken, without also providing the means to fix it? We can do better. The vote is no.